Hey guys, my name is Barbara. For a long time, I had a great relationship with my dad. Until I revealed a shocking truth that changed our lives forever. It's always been me and my dad. My mom died when I was a little kid, and my dad never talks about her. For most of my life, it wasn't a big deal. My dad was just like any other dad. And even though I was sad I didn't have a mother, I still feel like everyone else. But when I hit high school, things started to change. Oddly enough, it started with a tank top. I ran out the door to school one morning and my dad grabbed my arm. He snapped, "Where are you going dressed like that?" I was super confused. For a few months, that top had been my favorite. And on top of that, it was 90 degrees outside. It's not like anything was showing. I told my dad that there wasn't anything inappropriate about my shirt, and he started berating me. He asked how could I live so shamefully, disrespecting my body like that, and disappointing my dad, dressing like a girl who got around. I felt dirty. I went upstairs to put on a sweatshirt, and for the first time ever, I felt gross looking at my body. Should I be ashamed of it? Do I look like a girl who got around? Why had my dad said such awful things? When I got home from school the next day, I was completely shocked. My entire closet had been taken down. My tank tops, my skirts, my low-cut shirts, and dresses all had disappeared. My dad had thrown out half of the closet. When I confronted him about it, he told me I shouldn't miss those clothes. So, I started wearing only the t-shirts he left in there. I couldn't help but feel sleazy, like it was somehow wrong that I wanted to dress just like my peers. But that was just the beginning of my dad acting weird. Whenever I tried talking about my friends, my dad would shoot me down. He would ask for an insane amount of details, like who are they? Do they act up? Why are you hanging around with them? Who are their parents? It was almost like an interrogation every time I opened my mouth. I stopped talking about my friends, about school, about anything. It started to seem like he was jealous of everyone in my life. One night, I asked to go out with my friends, like I did every other week. It didn't go well. My dad started yelling at me and asked why I didn't want to spend time with him. Was I too good for him now? Was I doing something out there that was much more important than spending time with him? I didn't know how to answer any of those questions. I mean, he was my dad. I loved him, but I was a teenager. I wanted to go out with friends. There wasn't anything wrong with that. So I stood up to him. And I told him he didn't own me. And I was allowed to have fun without feeling guilty. He grabbed me by the arm and threw me into my room. I couldn't believe it. With a click, the door locked on me. And I sat in the dark. How had my dad become so obsessed over me? How did he expect me to live like this? Within the next few days, he made me write down all my account passwords. He made me give him my phone at the end of each day. I started to notice all the boys on my social media accounts were blocked, even friends I had had for years. I couldn't say anything because every time I opened my mouth, I would practically feel my dad's hands on my arm again. And I was scared. Every moment of my life, my dad wanted me to be with him. The minute I got home from school, the minute I woke up, I had to be available to talk to him. It was like he was obsessed with me. I started dreaming about after high school, when I would finally be able to escape him. When I would be able to live my own life. I mean, this had to be the worst it could get, right? But it wasn't. As I left for school one morning, I noticed my backpack was missing, and I saw my dad sipping his coffee like nothing was wrong. He slid a book across the table to me. It was a homeschool guide. I felt my heart shattering into a million pieces. I told him no, but he lost it into a crying fit. He started throwing things around and screaming like an annoying child. I was terrified. What if he did something to me? One night, I couldn't sleep. I looked at the mirror and didn't recognize myself. I didn't feel like a person anymore. It's like he had taken my identity away from me. I laid down in bed and spoke to my mother and said if she was looking over me, I needed her help. And I told her that I was scared and I couldn't do this anymore. Tears were running down my face. And when I looked up, I saw my dad standing right in front of me. I was embarrassed and terrified the next. Then he threw a book at me, and I ran into the closet and locked it. He started screaming and pounding on the door, saying, "Never mention that horrible woman that left us again." My mother? A horrible person? She died of cancer, hadn't she? Was she blaming her because she died? Or was there something that I didn't know about? Later that night, I snuck into the attic where we keep all of our files. I was looking for her death certificate, hoping it could give me some kind of information. But what I saw changed everything. My birth certificate. On it, my name wasn't the same at all. My dad's last name was totally different, and my mom had a last name I didn't recognize. Had my parents changed my name? Then I heard footsteps. I panicked and leapt out of the window and onto the roof. I knew I was never going back. As I ran across the street, I saw my dad watching me through the window. I went to the library and searched for my mom's name online. My heart dropped. She was a successful lawyer living in Montreal, and she looked exactly like me. I dialed her office number. My body was in a cold sweat, and my heart was racing. But when I heard her voice, all the anxiety went away. I told her who I was, and she started to cry, and she told me the truth. My dad had been abusive, and she had planned to leave him after suing him for custody of me. And he disappeared with me. He changed our names so we can hide. My mom had been looking for me for years, but with no trace. She bought a plane ticket that very same day, and ever since then, I have been living with her. We talked about my dad's abuse, and she said that with a lot of abuse starts with control and isolation. And I know that my dad had been heading down this road for a long time. And for the first time in years, I am really happy.